Okay. All right. We're here. This episode, I'm running a little late with this episode, friends. It is, what time is it? Monday at 6:53 p.m., which is by far the latest that I've ever recorded a episode, which means that I'm probably going to be up late tonight editing to hit that 12 a.m. deadline to publish it, but it's totally worth it. I've been feeling a little bit slow this week, a little sort of melancholy, a little bit sort of, a little bit too relaxed, I think. And that and a combination of a photo shoot that just has drug on way too long. I wanted to wrap it up by Friday. That didn't happen. I wanted to wrap it up by Saturday and then Sunday. And then it has bled into today. And it's just like a bad rash that just keeps coming back. But we're here. We're now recording and we're going to get through this. It's been raining here in San Diego and it's been overcast when it's not been raining. And it's been kind of nice, actually. I actually really like this weather. We used to live in the Pacific Northwest for a few years and we absolutely loved it up there. We probably belong up there, but we're here in San Diego. And I know there are worse places to live, places like Wichita. I didn't really say that out loud, did I? Yeah, Wichita. I'm sorry for all you people who live in Wichita. But we're in San Diego. I'm not complaining about San Diego. I actually love San Diego. It's just too bright sometimes, too many shades of blue and brown. Some people are telling me to fuck off right now that they would love to live in San Diego. And I understand how amazing this place is. And I understand also how amazing the tacos are. We have the best Mexican food probably in the country. Baja Tacos. Tijuana is literally within 10 minutes from my house. So we have some amazing food here. But the Northwest, man, I love the salmon chowder. I miss it. There's so many great places up there. I miss the coffee a lot up there. They have amazing roasteries. I actually think maybe the coffee tastes better up there because of the weather. Something about the combination of the slow drizzle rain and the overcast just makes coffee taste a little bit better. This episode, I didn't have planned, to be honest. I've been procrastinating. I wasn't really feeling like doing one of the episodes that I've been working on, just to let you in my process and peel back the curtain a little bit. I have about 30 episode ideas at any given time. How this works is I slowly drip ideas and thoughts and quotes and stories into them. And once I feel like I have a good, robust episode, I will just complete the episode and I'll reformat it and make the flow better. It's kind of a clunky process, but it works for me. Then there's other times when episodes just drop in my lap where I feel like the universe just says, write this one. And I'm like, yes, sir. One in particular was episode 23, which is We Work, Rome Burns. I wrote that in 2 days, recorded it the next day, and then got it out. But that's rare. And this one, though, is a new third category, which I was looking over my list of episode ideas, and I just wasn't vibing with anything. And so this is sort of like a stream of consciousness. I'm not sure what's going to happen, where it's going to go. And if you ask me what this episode was about, and I honestly, right now, couldn't tell you, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you can tell me after the episode. But I want to start with talking about a guy named Samuel Beckett. And for those of you whose literary consumption mostly stops at stories you read to your kids or smutty adult romance fiction, you know who you are. Samuel Beckett was an Irish playwright. He wrote things like Waiting for Godot. And if you don't know what that is, let me fill you in. Waiting for Godot is basically like a 2-hour existential joke about two guys killing time while absolutely nothing happens. And that's kind of the point. nothing happens. It's about these two characters, Vladimir and Estrogen. That's his name. Don't make fun of it. You can. I don't really care. And they're sitting around waiting for a guy named Godot who never actually shows. They wait one day and they wait 2 days. They make all these sort of excuses and they're like, should we stay? Should we go? I don't know. And that's basically the whole thing. It's just these two characters talking about whether they should stay or leave, but they never end up leaving. And it's sort of a commentary on how we waste our lives waiting for things that never arrive. It's about meaning, direction, permission, purpose, whatever. It's pretty good. Samuel Beckett really is a man after my own heart, even though he did struggle with a lot of mental health issues like depression, anxiety. He didn't sleep much. He actually dealt with terrible insomnia. So I have no problem sleeping. So I'm glad that I don't have that. But I like this quote from him. This whole point of me telling you about Samuel Beckett and waiting for Godot is to lead you to this quote. I'm telling you, this episode is going to be a little bit weird. But this quote, though, I love this quote. I have it printed and taped on my wall near my desk. And it really is maybe the mantra, the spirit, the ethos of Terrible Photographer. He says this: ever tried, ever failed, no matter, try again, fail better. And I love that quote. And I really do think it captures what Terrible Photographer is. But I'm pretty sure good old Samuel Beckett has never had to worry about freelance clients in his miserable, sleep-deprived existence. Look, and I appreciate Sam's persistence here, but failing better doesn't exactly pay for our mortgages, our cell phone bills, our car payments, and my astronomically high California electric bill, which would make some people weep. What I'm dealing with is more like ever tried, ever failed. Now I'm styling this stupid fabric at 2 a.m., which you'll hear about that fiasco in a bit. But the sentiment, the endurance, ever tried, ever failed, fail again, fail better, it really does mean something. You know, I get it more than you know. And only Samuel Beckett can make failure sound so romantic, because failure is mandatory, you know? But quitting, I think, is optional, or at least that's what I keep telling myself while anxiety tries to pull the covers over my head. Well, my name is Patrick Four. This is the Terrible Photographer podcast, where we have honest conversations about creativity, identity, and discovering your voice. Like I said, this episode is going to be completely different. There's no framework here. There's no research. There's no mention of Roger Deakins or the Stoics. It's just me processing some things out loud that I've been holding on to and thinking about. Call it stream of consciousness, call it a confession, call it whatever you want. Call it whatever helps you not feel alone while you're wondering what the fuck that you're doing. This episode number 36, we've made it to number 36, friends. I'm calling this episode Still Terrible. So right now, this past week, I've been dealing with this client that I can't seem to say no to. Have you ever had one of those clients? I've taken on a project with a lot of product styling work, and please hear me, product styling is not what I do. Absolutely not. It's not even in the neighborhood of what I do. I shoot people. I tell stories. I don't shoot consumer goods with textiles that require a ton of styling. That's not what I do. That's not in my wheelhouse. That's not my strength. But I said yes because I needed the work. we're in November and it's going to be into December and then January, which typically have been some of my slower months. And so I feel like I can't turn down this work. And so here I am. This was on Friday. I was in my garage at 2 a.m. trying to make this fabric look organically draped and elevated editorial, and it was not going well. Okay, so there I am. It's late at night again in my garage. There are Diet Coke cans starting to pile up. There is empty coffee cups. There is Ted Lasso playing on my studio TV because the silence of my garage makes everything worse somehow. And I need the background noise to pretend that I'm not completely alone in my misery. I have ChatGPT open, a little throwback to last week, and I'm asking it increasingly desperate questions about textile arrangements, like I'm trying to get an AI to teach me origami. It's not going well. I'm asking it things like how to convey luxury using a silk blend, and ChatGPT just spits out some completely useless abstract nonsense that makes me feel worse and more frustrated. This whole thing felt like some elaborate performance art torture where the goal is to make a $30 piece of silk blend look like a philosophy, right? Like this is 5-star Michelin level absurdity of the modern commercial photography world. I mean, you spend years honing your eye and your light and your craft, and you end up just begging a robot, right? An AI server that spits out ones and zeros for tips on how to make fabric look aspirational yet approachable. And I've eaten better out of a dumpster than the concepts that I was generating that night. I would take a shot. The shot would appear in Capture One instantly, and it looked wrong. It was 85% there, but it was like fundamentally just terrible in a way that I couldn't articulate. It looked like I just accidentally threw fabric on a table and stuck this pillow on top of it, which is exactly the opposite of this effortless editorial Vogue-inspired look that they were paying me a significant amount of money to achieve. I would take another shot, still wrong. Plan B was other people. Called in a friend who was into interior design. She came over on Sunday to help. She had to leave, and then I pulled in my wife to come help me, and she helped me get these shots over the finish line, and then the client had more feedback than I had to go back to the garage studio to shoot more. It's just been one of those projects, you know. But here we are. We're here. We're recording the podcast, and we are alive. This is the job. This is a job that we do. This is a job that we signed up for. I remember feeling on Friday night, it was late, this deep sense of anxiety in my gut before I called in help. I started to have these sort of intrusive, negative thoughts in my head. The thoughts that are a little irrational, but are equally terrifying. Thoughts like, what if I can't finish this? What if I have to go back to the client and say, I can't do this and return the money? And then beyond that, the nightmare scenario of the Google review, the inevitable Google review, the 1-star review where they say, quote, photographer couldn't complete job, unprofessional, do not hire him. And that Google review demon lives rent-free in my head. That's the thing that scares me the most, I think. And I'm always feeling like I'm one bad review away from ending up on the street. Like my business is still so new. It's so fragile that one bad review could really be the thing that just takes everything down. So I say yes to things that I probably shouldn't say yes to, and I call it customer service. I sometimes call it being the good guy, being professional, but really, I think if I'm really honest with myself, I'm just probably scared. And the irony here is the thing that makes this really extra stupid is by saying yes to all this shit that I shouldn't be saying yes to protect myself from the Google review, I actually end up in these situations where I'm more likely to fail, where I'm working outside of my strengths, where I'm working outside of my lane, where I'm styling this fucking fabric at midnight because I was too afraid to say no or too afraid to charge more to actually hire a professional who does this sort of thing for a living. And styling this fabric at midnight is how I know the universe has this dark sense of humor, you know? And that's the risk we take, isn't it? Is saying yes to things that we probably shouldn't. For me, it's the Google reviews. I'm terrified of negative feedback, of disappointing people. But for other people, it's pride. It's saying, I can do anything. I can shoot anything. For other people, it's just money, right? It's just pure greed. It's trying to accumulate as much money as possible. And we just invite these absurd, hard, annoying circumstances in our life that we don't have to because we're just afraid to say no. And that's where I'm at right now. So speaking of anxiety, I need to tell you about a phone call that I missed, an important phone call that I missed. This happened actually about a week and a half ago. And it's been kind of haunting me. I was in this co-working space. Well, not really a co-working space. I was actually sitting at my desk at home, but I was in Discord. If you are familiar with Discord, I was with some also friends that work from home. There's a server that I'm on that's people who work from home. It's kind of cool. We just sort of sit around and do work and occasionally talk about random stupid stuff. And this was a day where I'm just doing random stuff. I'm bouncing between emails and social media, and I'm just trying to be busy, trying to get some tasks done. And my phone was right there on my desk the whole time, 6 inches from my hand. The whole day, it was silent, it was dark, and nothing happened. Eventually, about 4 o'clock, I picked up my phone and I was like, this is weird that nobody has called me. Even salespeople or spam calls, it's been quiet. I was like, I better check my voicemails. Sure enough, I got a voicemail about 4 o'clock from a potential client. They had a meeting with their own client. It was this advertising agency in Orange County, and I didn't see it till about 4:15. And I got this phone call and my stomach just dropped. I got this cold wave that just rushed over me. I felt this sense of dread and failure, like I just fucked up severely. As I listened to his voicemail, I was already doing the math, thousands of dollars, rent, groceries, the bills that are always there still waiting, all because my phone was on Do Not Disturb. How dumb is that? A single absurd mistake, all because my phone was on the wrong setting. It was on Do Not Disturb the entire day. And it's such a dumb thing. It's happened to me before where I have my phone on Do Not Disturb, and it just, oh my gosh, it's such a dumb mistake. So I did what anyone would do. I called back immediately and it went to voicemail. I leave a message. I then text him, hey, sorry I missed your call. I get nothing. A day later, I follow up, still nothing. And then a few days later, I follow up once more, still nothing. And I feel like at this point, I'm ghosted. And maybe, look, maybe I have to sort of think positively about this. Maybe they went on to hire someone else for reasons that had nothing to do with me. Maybe they were never going to hire me anyway. Maybe I dodged a bullet. But the point is that I would never know. And that's what keeps me circling. That's what keeps this whole situation haunting me. And now it makes me check my phone 40 times a day to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I've been thinking about it a lot as I've been falling asleep, about messing up something so stupid, and doing the math for what it potentially cost me. And the thing about that phone call, it didn't just cost me the job necessarily. It cost me the certainty, I think. So I want to talk to you about another conversation that I had. This was about a week ago. I was in a Zoom conversation. It was late at night, and it was mostly photographers. And it's one of those late night conversations where we're just sort of hanging out, talking about random stuff. And there's a photographer in there whom I greatly respect. He's actually, I think, pretty much a legend. He shot magazine covers, TV show key art, the kind of work that feels like it's happening on another planet. And he knows my career lore, He knows that I worked at Taylor Guitars, and he knows of the burnout situation. And then when I made the freelance leap, and then 2.5 years of working for myself, where I'm still not sure if I'm building something or just failing with purpose. And we're having a conversation about commercial photography. And we were talking about how the assisting path that basically helped a lot of commercial photographers in the past become successful commercial photographers. When you begin by assisting and then you move up to, first assistant and then second assistant, and you go through this path, right? How that's basically dead now, and how the economy has basically forced us into shooting right away. We don't have the luxury of assisting people. We just need to start working and making money. So we're having a conversation about this, and the conversation just went dead. It was one of those weird Zoom silences that we've all had, where you can hear someone's neighbor's dog barking in the background, someone else is typing. And I just felt this weird urge to ask this photographer a question. His name is Jeff. I just had to say it. I felt compelled to say it. So in this moment of silence, I asked him, "Hey, Jeff, what am I doing wrong?" Naturally, Jeff was confused. He asked me the question, "What do you mean?" And I said, "I don't know. With my career, with commercial photography, have you seen anything that I'm doing that's wrong that you would question or you would change?" And I was trying to identify some blind spot that I had in my hundreds of thousands of hours of introspection, it felt like, and the ruthless self-criticism that I have for myself. Maybe I missed something. I can hear him shift in his chair. It's that little creak of someone buying time before they figure out what they want to say. He clears his throat and he says, "Patrick, you've only been doing this for 2.5 years. That's nothing. It takes people years." I know. I do. I swear I do. But my patience, though, right now, it just feels like a luxury item, like a bottle of expensive whiskey that you're supposed to save for some special occasion. And I don't have that special occasion. I just have fucking bills. But here's what's running through my head while he's talking. November of last year, December of last year, January of last year, zero income. These weren't just slow months type zero. It was actually zero. It was so much of a zero, we had to postpone Christmas. This is so sad. We had Christmas in March. I'm not joking. We had to tell my daughter that we would do it later, that it would be more special that way. All the things you say when you're trying to make poverty sound like a choice, And we figured it out. Obviously, we always do. But that memory of having to look my kid in the eye and explain why Christmas was on indefinite hold, that memory doesn't just fade away when that next paycheck lands. I wasn't prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for November, December, and January, that all of freaking capitalism would just grind to a halt during the holidays. Up until that point, I had been doing pretty well. Money had been really consistent, and I really had never had a time when it just stopped, like somebody just turned off the faucet. And so when my friend Jeff says, give it time, Patrick, you've only been doing this 2.5 years. What I actually hear is, you can't control any of this. There's no strategy to find. There's no problem to fix. Just, you have to wait. And you got to have some hope. And that's the worst. You got to understand, that's the worst possible answer for someone like me. I need someone to point out my flaw, to tell me that I'm not networking enough, or that my portfolio sucks, or something. Tell me something that I can fix. But the uncomfortable truth, this anxiety-inducing, wake you up at 3 a.m. truth, is that sometimes there isn't anything to fix. Sometimes it's just time. It's randomness. It's arbitrary. It's factors completely outside of your control. It's the market, the economy, a pandemic, it's tariffs, it's a missed phone call. And that uncertainty is the kerosene on my anxiety fire. And I feel like I'm just running out of runway, you know? Like the burn rate is faster than my hope rate. And I have this, if I'm going to be completely honest with you, I have this arbitrary deadline in my head. I have given myself a couple more years to figure this shit out. And if I don't, I'm not sure. One thing I do know is I don't really want to go back to graphic design. Honestly, I would probably rather eat drywall with some ranch dressing on the side, to be a little honest with you. Because at least with drywall, you know what you're getting. You know, you got some structure. It's a known quantity. And freelancing just feels like getting served a beautiful, expensive platter of nothing every single morning and being told to be grateful. Being grateful for the potential flavor profile, for the potential substance. And listen, I know my friend Jeff is right. I know intellectually he's right, but it doesn't help in that moment, you know? And what I need is acceleration. And what I'm being told is, wait, have some patience. Your time will come. And I'm not sure I have the luxury of waiting. Okay, I told you guys this episode was going to be a little bit different. And we're going to go a little bit weirder and potentially a little more awkward and more confessional. I preach, you hear me preach all the time about personal work, about test shoots, about using your voice, about making work that matters. And I'm here to tell you, my confession, right now, I'm not really doing it. I used to a lot. Test shoots actually got me where I am. That's why I believe in them so strongly. I know they work. They are the only true way to evolve your aesthetic, to test your voice, to find your voice outside of the constraints of a client brief. But somewhere along the way, I stopped. My taste, I feel like, here's my problem. My taste has moved past my skill, especially in the area with styling. I follow all these ridiculous Instagram accounts and photographers. These people post incredible work. These accounts show everyone's highlight reel, and it's all amazing. And it's all showing styling that really makes you just stop scrolling. And it all has really made me question everything about my approach. Because to me, I can light the shit out of a photo. I am confident in my compositional skills. But one thing that I can't control sometimes is the styling, especially when it comes to what people wear. That I've learned, I've sort of concluded, really makes or breaks everything. And so I am surrounded by all this ridiculously good styling from people, and I feel like I don't have the chops. I don't have the eye for it. It all feels impossible for me. And for these test shoots, I don't have the budget to hire people who do. You know, I can't seem to lower the bar back down to somewhere that's achievable. I've built my career on not really worrying about this stuff. You know how I do it before? I would literally put a call out on Instagram or call one of my friends, and I'd be like, hey, like this is what I want to do. We want to go to the studio. We want to go to this location. It'll be really epic. And they would ask what I'm thinking for styling, and I'd be like, really cool if you wore whatever, fill in the blank. And they would go through their closet and they would pull things that they thought would work. And I was like, that works. That seems cool to me. And they would show up, we would photograph, we would make the thing. I really wouldn't worry about it too much. But this aesthetic bar has risen so high now that I don't feel comfortable doing that anymore for some reason. So because of that, I just haven't been doing anything. And to be honest, I have a lot of ideas. I actually have too many ideas. These ideas, they're piling up. I don't know which one to start with. I have like idea paralysis. So I don't start at all. There's another shoot that I've been thinking about a lot lately. I've been thinking about it for actually over a year. It's about gender roles and domestic life and sexuality. It's like Leave It to Beaver meets gay pride, just like smashed into one. And these images in my head are awesome, and they're very specific. But they need a specific location and specific talent and highly specific styling. The wardrobe, the lighting, it adds up to a budget that right now I don't have. And I tell myself, as soon as I have this money, as soon as it's in my bank account, I'm gonna do this shoot. And if I really think about it, I have to ask the question, is that true? Or is the money just a convenient excuse? The truth is, if I'm honest again, I'm terrified of making work that I think matters. But what if I spend all of that money, all of that time, all that effort, and it just comes out looking slightly better version of a stock photo? And I think that's creative ego. If I'm really honest, that's what I know it is. And look, you know what's crazy is I have studio time available right now. I actually partner with a local studio, and I occasionally bail them out when their in-house photographer is busy, and I just say, hey, give me studio time. Totally cool. I'll come do your headshot. I'll come do whatever you need me to do. They comp me with studio time. It's a good trade-off, but I have quite a bit of studio time that I could use right now. I haven't. I could go and shoot portraits, bring in some models, bring in some friends, do some experiments, right? Some testing. I could play, see what happens, make something cool. But all these ideas, they've just been overwhelming me, and I can't decide which one to pursue. And then there's that styling dilemma, which my taste has seemingly evolved. It's elevated to standards that I just can't get out of my head. And to be honest, the idea of pulling an amateur model from Instagram, which is what I used to do, and just show up to make something, it sounds a little bit risky now. You know, it sounds small. Maybe it's a waste of time, a waste of studio time. And it's that little bit of resistance that's enough to make me not want to do it, to put it off. And so here I am, friends. I'm just writing podcast episodes about doing personal work, written a book about it, preaching about test shoots while I'm stuck in this analysis paralysis, doing product photography in my garage, because at least that's something I know I can execute, even though it's not my strength. It's not what I'm passionate about. It's not what I'm interested in. The other gap, the one that I think weighs on me constantly, is what I show people versus what I feel. Here's what I mean. Sometimes when it comes to social media, I actually avoid posting altogether. I've just now slowly gotten back into posting things on Instagram, but there is a period of time. You can go on my Instagram now and look. There was like months and months and months where I have not posted anything, because I think that unsatisfied silence feels better than unsatisfied validation, if I'm really honest. And I brand myself as someone who's figured out this balance between personal work and commercial work, between art and commerce. But the reality is that most days I'm just doing this commercial work, the burger flipping work to pay my bills, and I'm not doing anything else. I'm not picking up my camera to go shoot something interesting, to go shoot something fun, to shoot something that I'm actually passionate about, to tell a story. I'm not doing any of that. I'm shooting products. I'm shooting beef tallow and inexpensive pillows inside of my garage. And that's the gap between what I preach and what I practice. I feel like is so wide sometimes that you could probably drive a truck through it. And until I figure out how to close that gap, I'm gonna keep shooting fabric, shooting beef tallow, shooting racquetball rackets. What else have I shot? CBD oil, all this, sweatshirts, so many t-shirts, so many things. Let me start to wind down this episode. I want to talk about my daughter again. She's a favorite topic of mine. My daughter sees everything. She actually feels everything, probably more than a lot of people. She's very intuitive. She's what some people call an empath. She just takes on other people's emotions. She knows about it. She just has this almost supernatural ability to sort of read people like that. And when I'm anxious, when I'm off, she actually knows. The way that she interacts with me changes. She gets quieter and more careful. She just lacks the vocabulary and lacks the ability to sort of know how to navigate these complex emotions, but she feels it. She feels everything. Sometimes she looks at me like she's afraid to ask if we're okay, if I'm okay. And I don't think kids should have to read their parents like that. And we've been through some tough times, you know. We've dealt with some hard things. And I tell myself, and I tell her, she's watching me, her dad, build something. She gets to see what it looks like to fight, to start your own thing. She gets to see how it's not easy to work for yourself. You have to fight for it, and it's a struggle sometimes. I keep telling myself that this is just the origin story of something better. That maybe when this all works out, hopefully, eventually, that she will see that the struggle was worth it, you know? That this was just part of that origin story. The middle part, it's the hard part. But if I'm being really honest, I don't really know if it's true because it's so risky. When you start your own thing, you never know what tomorrow's going to bring. It's feast or famine. And it could be famine for a long time up until the point when it's not. And that's the hope that I have, right? That eventually the feast will come. But honestly, if I'm really honest, I don't actually know if that's true. I don't know if she will remember this as the time that dad built something meaningful, or the time we're always stressed about money, or the time that we miss Christmas. I worry that I'm modeling the wrong things. That what she's learning is work is anxiety, success is always just out of reach, and being a creative professional means living in a constant state of low-level panic. And that's not what I want to teach her. But I worry it might be what I'm teaching her anyway. I really, really hope that years from now, this will all make sense. That the hard times that we find ourselves in now will be all worth it. But right now, I know for me, maybe for you, you just feel like you're in the middle of it. I just hope that I'm not fucking up her childhood while I'm trying to figure out my career. So a few months ago, this prominent person in the podcasting space, somebody who really knows their shit, they listened to my podcast and they emailed me out of the blue. Never expected it. And I actually didn't really know who this person was. And she asked me if I had a team. She assumed that I had an editor, that I had a writer, a designer, that we had this whole production apparatus. And she was generally shocked when I told her that it was just me. But in that moment of like her confusion, it was the first time that I had felt seen in a long time, even with photography. Like I had finally had someone who recognized the work, the hours, the obsessive amount of attention to audio quality and the music selection and the pacing. I mean, it takes me almost as long to edit and mix one of these things as it does to shoot a commercial job. That's how much I care and have invested in the quality. But there's this feedback that I'm getting that sort of stings too. Am I trying too hard? Am I overcompensating? Does this polish that I am so obsessed over, does it make it feel too performative? It's true. I place an insane amount of value on production quality. It's not an accident. It's not casual. Because in my head, I'm not competing with the podcast bros in their basement with their $150 microphones and their little podcast hobby. In my head, I'm competing with places like NPR, the New York Times, these massive podcast companies with actual budgets and actual teams. That's my target. Why? Because for some reason, I never want to be amateur at the things that I take seriously. Things like photography, design, writing, now podcasting. This bar is set so high, maybe too high. But here's the question that I keep wrestling with and keep thinking about. In all this polish, in all this production value, is my voice actually cutting through? Or am I violating the spirit of stay terrible by performing like I'm better than I actually am? I don't know. I actually deleted an episode once. There's an episode called The Content Machine. And I listened back to it a few months back, and it just made me cringe so hard. I had to pull it down immediately. It sounded like pure, unhelpful negativity, and I didn't want that energy existing in the world that has my name and my voice attached to it. So I went to my hosting platform and I hit delete. It wasn't helpful. It wasn't insightful. It was just noise, I thought. And the tension that I feel is this. I care so deeply about the craft, about quality, about making things that are worth someone's time, because I respect everyone's time. Anyone who listens to this podcast, I'm so thankful for it. But I also just need to stay human, stay messy, stay vulnerable. And sometimes those two things feel like they're pulling in opposite directions. I've had a hard time figuring out that tension. And I suppose if I had to choose, I think in my soul, I would rather truly be honest than well-produced. But in my head, I would rather be just well-produced because I know how to do that. That's easy for me. Being totally honest and being vulnerable and being human is a little bit harder, but I know that's better. So right now I'm in the process of trying to figure out how to do both. Look, I need to be clear about something. As you hear these episodes where I talk about my business or lack thereof sometimes, I'm not looking for sympathy or empathy focusing on me. I know sometimes these episodes can be a little bit dark. Maybe you feel like sometimes I'm oversharing. Sometimes I feel like I'm oversharing. Sometimes I'm writing it and it feels appropriate when I'm writing it, but then when I'm reading it out loud, or especially when I listen back to it like a week or two later, I'm like, oh my God, I cannot believe I said that. But what I do know is this isn't a cry for help. I'm not looking for attention, right? I'm not looking for pity. I hate that kind of shit. Honestly, what I'm trying to do is just create this space that I wished existed for myself, yes, but more so for anyone else who needs it. I want to create a conversation that I want to be a part of. The ones where we stop pretending we have everything so fucking figured out where we admit that most days we're just making our best guess and hoping this shit works out. I'm much more comfortable building a space for others than pulling focus towards myself. And listen, I understand the irony. This is literally an episode where I talk about me and my struggles and my fuck ups and my anxiety. All of the episodes is all about me. So I understand the irony here, and it's actually difficult for me to talk about me so much. But really, I think when I think about it, how I sort of internally, intellectually justify it is I'm using myself as this cadaver case study, although I'm not dead and my career's not dead. Maybe cadaver is the wrong word. But my life, my business, my journey, it's just a way to enter into larger conversations about anxiety, the gap between what we show people and what we actually feel, the pressure to accelerate success when everyone is telling you to be patient, that feeling of being in your garage or being in your studio or being in your home office at 2 a.m. with work, wondering if the Google review demon is coming for you next. The feeling in that pit in your stomach from that missed call from a potential client, of letting that client fall through the cracks. All of it is the same conversation. And I'm tired of pretending that being a creative professional is easy. To be honest, and I think you know this, it's not even reasonable half the time. But this business, this thing is mine. So let me circle back to that question that I asked my friend Jeff on the Zoom call, that photographer at 11 p.m. when I asked, what am I doing wrong? I think maybe this is my internal answer. The one that doesn't help me pay the bills, but helps me maybe sleep at night. Maybe I'm not doing anything wrong at all. Maybe this is just what right is like in the middle. Maybe this chaos, this flailing, this fear, this is the process. And it feels awful sometimes from the inside. So what do I hope that you take away from all of this craziness? If you're listening to this late at night, or you're working on a project you should not have said yes to, if you're avoiding the work that actually matters because your taste has moved past your skill, if you're taking jobs you hate because that mortgage payment is due, it's okay to have hope in all of this. And even though a lot of what we do truthfully is bullshit and it's frustrating and makes you want to throw your laptop out of the window, it's hopefully leading somewhere. It's part of your story. It's maybe even the most interesting part. Because when it comes down to it, hard things are hard. The things worth doing are the things that make you want to give up the most. What we do as creatives is incredibly fucking hard. This field, no matter what you're in, design, a writer, photographer, wedding photographer, portrait photographer, baby photographer, whatever you do, it's incredibly competitive. So many people are trying to do what we're doing, and most of them never have made it as far as you already have. We need to force ourselves, and I'm talking to myself here just as much as you. We need to stop bitching long enough to be thankful that we get to do this. Even though it sucks sometimes, even though we might have to postpone Christmas once or twice, we get to do this. And I don't have the answers. I'm still figuring this shit out. But I'm still here, man. I'm still showing up. I'm still trying. And if you're still here too, you're still showing up. You're still trying. You're still terrible at this some days. Then maybe that's the whole thing. Maybe showing up terribly is better than not showing up at all. I just want to say, as I close, I promise I'm done. I've been ranting a little bit too much this episode. I just want to say thank you so much for all of you who have supported Terrible Photographer, either by contributing actual money on my website through Buy Me a Coffee, or all the emails and the DMs. I just want to say how much I love that. I put all the emails and messages in their own folder for when days I just feel like I'm just in my garage shouting into a microphone into the void. I go back and I reread these to know that there are actually those of you who are listening, those of you who get something out of this. Again, I'm truly, truly appreciative. So with that said, all of that said, I'm not sure what all of that was, but I will leave it there until next Tuesday. Stay curious, stay courageous, and yeah, stay terrible.